Hey everybody, it's Russ from Kilt Cork, and I hope this is going live right now. I am broadcasting episode 1 of Kilt Cork Live, and I'm using a cool program that allows me to kind of see what's going on, and people can text in or they can comment, and hopefully I'll see their comments. So it's kind of all a new process for me. It's not the typical Facebook Live, so I apologize in advance for any glitches, but hopefully everything will go smooth, and we'll have a good show, and I can feel good about what we talk about and what happens here. So anyways, again, thank you very much for joining me tonight for the first episode of Kilt Cork Live. It's been a long time coming. This has been something I've been planning for probably about 2 years. I think I bought the URL like in 2016, knowing that this would eventually become something I wanted to do. My background is in blogging and writing and graphic design and all those kind of creative things. And my passion, you'll find out as we continue on this show tonight, but my passion really is the amazing wineries and this region that we live in. And I'll tell you more about that. So I decided that I would put those two things together. Hey, Michael, I just see Michael and Beverly joined. Thank you guys for joining me. That's really cool. And this marriage of my passions and my skills kind of have turned into Kilt Cork. Hey, Michael. So anyways, thank you very much again for joining me. Again, my name is Russ Reyes, and my project, my alternate personality here is Kilt Cork. And before I get too much further, I do want to thank some people who really helped me to get this going. And before I do that, though, can I just pour a drink? I'm kind of thirsty. And you know, if you're watching, I encourage you to have a cocktail as well, because it's 5 o'clock, actually 5:30. And you know, that's why I said 5:30-ish, because I'm typically one of those people who, if I say I'll be there, I'm going to be there. I'm really close to the time I'm going to be there, but it could have taken a little bit longer, like tonight it did. So that's kind of why we're starting here now. Okay, so anyways, cheers, and back to who I want to talk about. I wanted to really give a shout out to my family, who's been supporting me for forever in pretty much everything I do. And I really couldn't do this without their blessing and their support. So, and that's all my family. They're amazing. I want to thank a couple of my friends who have supported this dream of mine and actually encouraged me to kind of pursue this. And they're kind of both new in my life as far as in the last couple of years. But Debbie Torres McCarthy, hopefully Debbie will be watching this soon if you're not already watching, but she is also known as About Town Deb. And About Town Deb is probably one of the best things to happen to this region in a long time. She's so full of passion and love for this area and her hometown too of Reno, that it just inspired me to really kind of follow what I want to do and my passion and my dreams. And so a big shout out to About Town Deb, and also the whole crew at Bliss Babe Magazine for just kind of believing in me too in this area. I have to thank my Rogue brothers, because they are my fellow kilt wearing brethren. They make wearing kilts pretty cool. So I have to thank them, because really without them, I probably wouldn't have ever gone and gotten a kilt and started wearing it, even though I kind of encouraged them to be to follow the lead and get those kilts. But definitely they are an inspiration to me. And then more recently, a new friend that I kind of made, his inspiration comes from the fact that he just did it. He just said, hey, I'm going to do this, and I did it. And that's Jeremy Mirren. His alternate ego is Existential Wine Guy. So follow Existential Wine Guy on Facebook and Instagram, and definitely follow About Town Deb on Facebook and Instagram, and they have websites as well. So really just kind of thank you to those people for getting me here tonight. So what we're going to talk about tonight, we're just going to go over a couple of things. It's going to be a brief show, hopefully around 20 minutes. Of course, I tend to talk a lot, so we'll see how that goes. But I see that some of my friends from some business associates joined the group. Hey, Aaron, how's it going? He knows I talk a lot. So anyways, we're going to just briefly talk about the kilt, because that's kind of the big thing that everyone asks about. Why wear a kilt? What's under the kilt? Everyone asks what's under the kilt. We're going to talk about that in a minute. We're also going to talk about what Kilt Cork is, and kind of what the purpose of Kilt and Cork is. And then I'll tell you how we're going to get the message out. And then I promised in my teaser on Facebook that I'm going to give you one good reason. There's a million of them, but I'm going to give you one good reason to go out wine tasting this weekend. So cheers if you're just joining me. Thank you for joining me. Again, my name is Russ Reyes, and this is called Kilt and Cork, and cheers. You got to pour something to drink. I can't drink alone, so. All right. I love bourbon. So let's talk about what is worn under a kilt. I love the answer to that question. Spike Milligan, he was a British-Irish comedian, and apparently he wore kilts. And his answer to that was, when someone would ask him, what's worn under the kilt? His answer would be, well, nothing. It's all in perfect working order. So there's a lot of responses to what's worn under the kilt or what you have on under your kilt. And all of my friends have their own kind of unique takes on it. I've got mine. But I kind of just wanted to get into that and kind of let you know that there's not a brief answer to that question. The answer can be long, and it's hard to be specific about what exactly a man wears under his kilt. So for that reason, I'm going to be firm about my decision to delay the answer to what's under the kilt and delay your gratification with that until next week. So next week, I have a very special guest. We'll be here live, so make sure you tune in next week. He's very small on words, but he packs a legend under the kilt. So I can't wait for him to be here. His name is Seamus, and the legendary Seamus is going to be here next week, and he's going to reveal to everybody on live Facebook what is exactly under his kilt. So I'm not going to let you down on that. So if you want to see, you're going to have to tune in next week. So I know that's a teaser. I promise you I'd tell you what's under the kilt, but that's all you're going to get right now because we have a lot more stuff to talk about. And we're going to go right into kind of what Kilt and Cork is. And feel free, if you have any questions or anything, I'd love to see what your questions are. If you have any comments or whatever, if I can put them up on screen, I will. But anyways, so what is this whole thing, this Kilt and Cork? Well, for one thing, it's my passion. I mean, I am completely passionate about this region. I know many of the small family winemakers and farmers and people who kind of make this agritourism business here in El Dorado County and Amador County tick. And the one thing I can say is that they're amazing, and I absolutely love being here. And so I want to share that. I want to share their stories. I want to share their passion, and I want to share what they make specifically with the wine and the distilleries and the breweries that are in this area, as well as places to stay. So it's kind of it's a destination. If you don't live here, it's an amazing place to come and visit. So through Kilt and Cork, I'm hoping to turn the rest of the world onto this amazing place. So I guess you can say Kilt and Cork is kind of like a travel show or travel log or travel vlog. And it's kind of into 3 parts, and we'll get to that in a minute. But just to give you an idea of kind of what prompted me to do this, I've had so many conversations with people locally that when I say, you know, I'm going to go out to wine country this weekend, they say, oh, Napa, Sonoma. And it's like, no, not Napa, Sonoma. I'm going out to Amador, or I'm going out to El Dorado County, or even Placer County. So people even in Folsom, I was talking to a woman the other day, and I mentioned a winery, and she's like, oh, I've never heard of that. Is that in Lodi, or is that in, and no, it's, she knew Apple Hill, which was good, but she had no idea where Fairplay was. And Fairplay is one of the most amazing wine regions that's kind of, it's not emerging. It's been here a long time, but I think in the public eye, it's emerging. So I had to tell her where it was. You know, it's easy to get to. So people are not aware. They don't know what's out here. So I have taken it upon myself to make it my job to let people know where I like to go, where I like to see some of my favorite places. By the way, I'll talk about this in a minute, but Engine 49, I'll tell you where to get it. It's delicious. It's 120 proof. I'll tell you that right now. So if I start getting silly here in the next 10 minutes, you'll know why, but I'll just sip it. So just some of the things that are around here, I just kind of want to go over that. Most people don't know that within an hour of Sacramento heading east, there's over 110 wineries just in El Dorado and Amador. And it's hidden. People don't realize that that's there. They might know about 2 or 3, but they don't know about all of them. There are at least 13 breweries, with a couple more coming online that I know of, that are literally boundary to boundary in El Dorado County. You can go from El Dorado Hills all the way up to South Lake Tahoe, and you'll see an amazing amount of breweries in between there. There are at least 2 distilleries that I know of. And if there's any more out there, I'm looking at your comments. I hope that you tell me, because I want to find them. But there's at least 2 distilleries in El Dorado County. I'm not sure if there's another one in Amador. I know there was, but they're local. They're local, making great stuff. There are dozens, literally dozens of bed and breakfasts and inns and historic hotels that dot 49 and dot the area that we live in that are unique. You just can't find places like that anywhere else in California in this concentration. There's so many of them. There's restaurants that are within our area that have world-class chefs and that serve amazing farm-to-table foods with locally sourced ingredients. Lots of winemaker dinners, because it's easy, it's natural. You've got a ton of wineries, you've got some great restaurants, and you've got all this locally produced food. And it's a natural thing up here in El Dorado and Amador. You know, if you're an outdoor person, I can't think of a better place to live than here, because literally, unless you surf every day or scuba dive every day, and even that, there's places to do it up here, you can do everything else. You can ski in the winter, snowshoe, you can snowboard. You know, there is tons of winter sports. Then you've got hiking and backpacking. You've got cycling, mountain biking, horseback riding. I mean, the list goes on and on. Water skiing, rafting, any type of water sport. It's literally an outdoor playground here. And a lot of people know about it, and they come and they take advantage of it. But I think there's probably, that's probably the better known part of living in this area is, of course, Tahoe. People know Tahoe, and they know Folsom Lake, and they know a lot of the cool camping places, but they don't really stray off of Highway 50 or, you know, Jackson much. They kind of stick to these places they know. And so I kind of want to change that. I want them to kind of stray a little bit and see what's out there. You know, I didn't even talk about the history that's here. And if you're a history buff, or you love things that that are vintage or, you know, antique, it's a place to just come and just be full of everything that's historic. All these little historic towns, Placerville, Sutter Creek. We've got Murphy's in the south, you know, Auburn. They're historic towns that have buildings that have been around for a couple of hundred years. And so if you like that kind of stuff, or it sparks any type of romance in you, this is really an amazing place to be. Not to mention that this is where gold was discovered. And I know there's 2 sides to that story, so I won't get into it, but it's a fact of history. Gold was discovered. It was here for thousands of years, but it was discovered in 1849. And that kind of changed California forever. It changed this whole area. And so if you're into that kind of stuff, learning about history, it's awesome. So that in itself is enough content for me to make 1 million shows. So I can't do all of it. So I'll try to work it into a few different ways. And I kind of was going to have all these really cool little things on here that I was going to show you. But rather than all of this cool techie stuff, well, okay, I'll do this. This is kind of cool. I'll tell you about the 3 different ways that we're going to, here at Kilt Cork, we're going to get this information out to people. So the first one is this. This is kind of our pillar, if you will. We're going to do a weekly show. It won't always just be me talking. I thought this first show is a great way to introduce what's happening and introduce the situation and let you get to know me a little bit. But I'm going to have guests. Like I said, next week's Seamus, so don't miss Seamus next week. But I'm going to have guests. It could be a winemaker, it could be a brewer, it could be a hotel, it could be really anything. It could just be someone I find interesting, maybe a quirky person, comedian, I don't know. And so if you want to be on the show, that's how you get a hold of me. You text me, you Facebook, you Instagram me and say, hey, I have something to say. I want to be on your show. So I can't guarantee everyone will, but we'll try. So this this is really going to be the way I kind of look at it this way. There's three different things. This show is how you're going to get to know me. And if you already know me, that's awesome. And I probably love you already. But if you don't already know me, you're probably either going to like me or not. So that's okay. I'm probably not for everybody, but this is the way that you'll get to know me and the things that I really like about this area, like this bourbon. I'm going to have another sip. All right. So that's the weekly show. The next part of this whole Kilt and Cork is the Kilt and Cork Wish You Were Here. And what that's going to be is more of a traditional travel show where we're going to actually go out into this area wherever we go, and we're going to have a story to tell. So the one thing about that is, and I can promise you this, is if you follow me and you follow this show, there's a good chance that you're going to be on Wish You Were Here. I really think it's important for people that live here and love this area to also be a part of this, because I don't want it just to be me saying how great this place is and me saying how great this bourbon is and me saying how great this wine is. I want you, the people who live here and work here and love this as much as me, to kind of be a part of that. So our first episode of Wish You Were Here is going to be filmed next week. I can't really give you too many specifics other than I did pick two fans who were early in the process of liking the page, and I'm really excited to bring them along on this excursion that we're taking locally here. So shout out to Sonia Lind and shout out to Janet Saitman for basically agreeing to be a part of the first show, not knowing exactly what's going to happen. They just said, sure, I'm going to do it. So thank you very much, ladies. I'm sure you're going to love it. It's going to be fun. But that's the second part. So again, that's where you get to kind of know the area. So if you're from out of the area, you don't live here, Wish You Were Here is really going to be for you, because you're going to get to see some amazingly beautiful and some great stories. Hopefully they're great stories. I'm going to make them great stories if they're not. All right. The third part of this is where I get to know you. And how this works is I just come to your house. So you don't know me. Well, some of you do, but most of you don't. And if you kind of get a feeling for how I am and how I'm, what type of person I am through this show, then maybe you'll invite me to your house. But I'll always bring somebody with me, whether it's a winemaker. So shout out to Mike Owen at Crystal Basin Cellars for being the first one on board to say, heck yeah, I want to go with you to crash someone's house and have a party. Also, thank you to Outbreak Brewing, Placerville, because they're going to supply the beer. I'm not sure if one of them can come with me because it's kind of short notice, but they reached out and we're going to get some really awesome brews from them. And special shout out to the hostess who won the party for just stepping up and allowing us to come to her house. So that's Stacy Carpenter in El Dorado Hills. We're going to be at your house tomorrow night about this time. Yep, for sure about this time. And it's going to be a good time. But that's how we're going to get to know you. And then we're, of course, going to tell your story and kind of put it all over the web and let people see kind of what your house looks like. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Anyways. So that's how we're going to tell the story of Kilt and Cork. So I'm kind of running out of time here. I want to make sure I just get to a couple more things, which is really the passion part again. This place is an amazing place to be. Wine tasting is probably one of my favorite things to do. And it's just some place that you have to experience to see really what it's all about. So I promised I'd leave you with a reason to go wine tasting this weekend. Go wine tasting in El Dorado or Amador. I mean, actually, you can go wine tasting anywhere. It's going to be a beautiful weekend. And California is beautiful. So there's a ton of places out there. But I'm just telling you about Amador and El Dorado. And I'll be out there somewhere. So you might run into me somewhere. And I'm probably going to have a whole crew with me as far as other people. I know probably Deb's going to be with me. And I think Jeremy might be with me. So if you want to meet this little trifecta of people really trying to promote this area, we'll be out there somewhere. I don't want to tell you where yet. You have to find us. But this is the reason why you should go wine tasting this weekend. Right now, the fruit that's on the vines out there has just undergone this process called veraison. And I want you to ask a winemaker what that means and how that happens. Basically, though, the result of that is beauty, you get these bunches of grapes out there that are just purples and dark reds, and some of them are in between, you know, so there's greens and some ambers, and then the dark, you know, just dark purple that just makes you want to bite into that bunch of grape. And it's all over now. So now's the time you want to get out there and see these beautiful bunches, because that's going to be the wine you're going to be drinking in a year or two. So if you take a picnic, just go out there, find a beautiful spot at a winery that you can just sit there and look at these vines, because the fruit's not going to be on there much longer. It's one of those years where I've already heard some winemakers saying they're going to be pulling that fruit off the vine probably in the next week or two. So there's some urgency to it. If you want to get out there and see this beautiful fruit that's hanging out there and kind of see what this area is all about, I really encourage you to do that. And if you're a winery and you're listening to me, or if you know of someone that's a winery, expect people to ask questions about that. And I think it'd be cool if you walk into a tasting room and they've got a bowl of like Zinfandel bunches there that you can just kind of pick off and taste what that fruit tastes like before it's been you know, crushed and pressed and turned into that amazing glass of wine that you're tasting at the tasting bar. So it's all about the experience. And Jeremy's really good about talking about the whole experience and culture of wine drinking and friends and stuff. So I'm leaving that to him. But going out and experiencing this region is probably one of the most satisfying things you can do for your soul and the people that are around you. It's just amazing. So get out there, have some fun this weekend, take a picnic, take someone you care about, or a bunch of people you care about, put them in a car, go out there and taste some wine. So that's about it. That's about all the time I have for you tonight. We're going to do this again next week. And again, Seamus is going to be on. And Seamus, I guess I can tell you, we call him Shameless Seamus. So if that gives you any idea about his character, then you definitely need to tune in next week. And I'll just tell you this right off the bat. I don't know when we're going to do the reveal. So it could be early. It could be later in the show. You know, the bummer is you can watch this on like repeat. So it doesn't really matter. You'll catch it anyways if you see it. But tune in next week for Seamus. We're also going to talk about a couple other really cool things that we're going to be doing. I'll tell you a little bit about the next 2 contests that are coming out that you can enter. And the way that you enter is by making a comment on the post when I say that there's going to be a contest coming up that you can win, and you can do it in your house. You just comment on that. Also, make sure that you like my Facebook page. That's important. That's how you know what we're going to be doing. Follow me on Instagram. That's important too. And also, please, please, please share this with your friends if you've enjoyed it and you think that there's any value here, and you might want to come back. Please share this with everybody. I would really appreciate it. And, you know, I might have the chance to thank you in person by crashing your house one of these days. So make sure that you do that if you can. Other than that, I've really had a good time doing this. It wasn't as hard as I thought. And so until next week, when we sit down and have another chat, thank you very much for joining me tonight. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for supporting Kilt Cork. And I hope to see you back next week. Cheers.